While sporting activities on and off the field are of equal importance, and athletes are tasked with being great ambassadors in order to protect their brands, SABC News senior reporter Thando Mxoli takes a look at the economies of sport. He spoke to Stavros Nicolau, senior executive at Aspen Pharmacare, earlier today.
Okay, today, many hearts will be broken, many dreams will be made. Paris is the host for one of the biggest sporting events this weekend. But that said, we've got another national team on duty today. In India, the Proteas are taking on England, the very same side the Springboks will be taking on. And next to me, we've got a man who was instrumental in reviving the cricket in South Africa, a man who guided us through some very, very murky waters. Stavros Nicolau, welcome to SABC News. You helped recreate a cricket brand that was in tatters. We have found some stable ground. What do you think of the current cricket team at the moment?
Thando, firstly, can I just say before I answer how wonderful it is being a South African at the moment. It's always wonderful being a South African, but playing and competing the way we are in 2 World Cups is really a fantastic and a significant achievement, I believe. Now let me focus on the Proteas for a moment. Very good start, excellent first 2 games, then we had a slump against the Netherlands. Today is a defining match, but what I can say is in the last 24 months we have seen the rebuilding of the team, and the team is producing some excellent results, and I think that this particular World Cup for the Proteas is going to be a defining one, in that it would have taken us out of a period of slumberness, if I can call it that, and on an upward trajectory again. So very confident in both our teams, both the Proteas and the Springboks, because they are both playing a wonderful brand of cricket and rugby at the moment.
Talking about new dawns, you're talking about new eras coming into fruition. Remember 6 years ago, the Springboks were in a rather bad shape themselves. We got 50 from New Zealand. The financial problems, all of those things were sorted out when a young man from Dispatch came through and was in charge of the Springbok setup and SA Rugby as a whole. Talk to us about the important things that Rassie Erasmus introduced into Springbok Rugby. For example, appointing Sia 3 months before the first squad was announced as captain, and also embracing the differences that make us a great nation.
Firstly, can I say that South Africans perform best when their backs are to the wall. Now, we know there are many economic headwinds in our country at the moment, and just like our economy in many respects is resilient, so too are our sportsmen. You're quite right. 6 or 7 years ago, we suffered our biggest loss ever. That's a record loss for any Springbok team against New Zealand. And yet we rebuilt. Now, this is partly because of the innovation of Rassie and the team. I don't want to say it's only Rassie. I think South African Rugby, SARU, has an excellent president in Mark Alexander, an excellent board, and I think leadership starts at the top and it works its way down. And I think we are proving what's come through. I've spent the last week in Paris, and I've been to a number of rugby games, a number of rugby events, spoken to a number of rugby pundits. What is coming through very clearly about this particular Springbok team, about the management, the coaching staff, players, and the brand of rugby that we are playing, is that these pundits are saying that you've mixed up your game so well. You can play with brute force if you want, you can play with finesse if you want, you can mix the two during the game, and that is rather unique with this team, I believe, because we had a particular brand of rugby which was based on strength. We've now added finesse to the game, and we're able to mix it up, and that makes us a formidable team to play against.
Let's look at brand South Africa. We've been around the streets of Paris and listen. Despite us knocking out the tournament host, we seem to be a popular team. Talk to us about the brand of Siya Kolisi and the Springbok brand, how it's grown not just locally but as an international brand.
I just want to go back to what I was saying earlier. Our country is facing many economic headwinds. The world geopolitically is going through a very difficult phase. We are feeling a global impact on inflation. Certainly speaking, I've had a number of meetings with French ministers this week, and the economies generally are going through a difficult phase. And this is a time where we as South Africa need to seize that opportunity to rebuild our economy. And rebuilding your economy means inspiring confidence in your economy. And the Springbok brand should not be seen in isolation to that exercise, because it's a wonderful brand. It's a universally well-known brand. I mean, I'm surprised at people from Latin America, people from the US. I know the World Cup's going to be held in the US in 2031, but it's interesting how people know and recognize the Springbok brand, and they also associate it with success. So if we're able to, as a country, demonstrate that we can administer rugby well, which we are doing, that we've got a successful team, we've got successful development, we are diversifying. Women rugby, I believe, in our country is on the rise. We need to do a lot more, though. These are all elements that allow you to build a more socially cohesive nation. Now, when you're building a brand, you cannot have a country that's socially incohesive. And nothing unites people in our country more than sport, I believe. So during these difficult times where there's social tensions, there's poverty on the increase, we should never underestimate the role of rugby and other sport in our country in unifying a nation. Now, you can never execute on the best economic plans unless you've got a socially cohesive country. And sport is so important in that. And the Springboks are such a fantastic brand. They are wonderful ambassadors for our country in delivering that social cohesion. So we should never underestimate that. My last comment is that part of building investor confidence is how people perceive and view your country, how they interact with you when you're abroad. So when you're here in Paris, and France is one of Africa's biggest European investors, they're a big investor in our country. The company I'm with, Aspen, invests in France. So these are all important engagements that you have in how people perceive your country, how they perceive your economy, and it assists to build investor confidence, which is exactly what our country needs now. And I must commend the Springboks and the Springbok brand for being fantastic brand ambassadors for our country.
Stavros, thank you for your time. As you know,
thanks very much, Thando.
As you know, perceptions tend to become reality in a lot of situations. You just need to manage those perceptions, like Stavros said, and make sure that we put brand South Africa, the country, front and center, and build on what is already a great nation. As for the Springboks and the Proteas, all the best to them against a very formidable opponent in England, and hopefully tomorrow we'll all be smiling and rejoicing the great victories of tonight.